Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone about 2 more minutes just to join us here. We're getting close to the number of registrants, but I want to make sure that some of the people that are just logging in can join us, and then we'll get started. All right, good morning again to everyone who has now joined us, and thank you for joining our online power session today. Today's session is 4 rules for refining website copy or website text. So I'm hoping that this is going to give you a quick kind of strategy to maybe take the content that you currently have in your website, and if you're looking to refine that this off season for those of you in the north, or for those of you down in the south who are starting your season up, this is a great time to maybe take a look at what you have and maybe make some improvements so that your members and anyone visiting your website can get the information that they need. Now, just to introduce myself, I am Trevor, and I am a Senior Marketing Associate here at Jonas Club Software. I used to work with clubs specifically on their websites doing website audits, and that's still a free service that we offer, and I'm going to just cover that a little bit at the end of the webinar today, so that if any of you are interested in taking a free website audit with us, you can do so. And I think I've met some of you looking at my attendees list through some website audits, so good to speak with you again. But I'm now working on our overall product, and that's allowed me to take some of my marketing knowledge and put together this webinar for you today. Now, just so that everyone has the best viewing experience today, I just wanted to point out that you can actually make my screen your full screen, and you can do so by clicking on this diagonal arrow here inside of the WebEx meeting session. And if at any point you want to go from full screen back to your own desktop, you can just hit this return button, and this way you'll be able to see any of the text on my screen a little bit clearer. Now, I have muted your lines, so if you do run into any issues, I'd ask that you submit them through the chat box. I'm trying to monitor that at the same time. And I've noticed that there has been some issue with dialing into the Canadian number, so I'm just going to reply to that in the text box here, but hopefully those of you who have been able to join me use the Canadian number with no problem. Just bear with me one moment here. I will be sending this presentation to all of you as a PDF after the webinar, so you can take your notes, but you will have this for your reference. and I will also be leaving a little bit of time at the end to answer some questions. So if you have some questions about what I present to you today, you're welcome to submit those, and I'll try my best to address them. All right, so today, as I mentioned, we are looking at 4 rules for refining website copy. And when I was doing my website audits, there were some common things that I saw often that I feel a lot of clubs' websites are not taking advantage of or could be improved upon. And it's often the case that content might have been taken from other documents that you had at the club. Maybe it was some print documents, or things were written when the site was first built and now it's kind of outdated. But there are some really simple things that you can do to address those, and that's what I'm going to hopefully cover today. So before I get into the rules, I want to just kind of take a step back and ask you that whenever you're going to build a new page on your website, or maybe take a page that you currently have and refine it or improve it, you want to ask yourself, why are the people coming to your website or to that specific page? Why are they here? And this is a little bit different than just deciding what you want to tell them. So I encourage you to, put yourselves in the user's shoes and think of some of the reasons why they might be visiting the site. And I can go over a few of those here for you. So probably they're there to get some answers. And I always find it's a good process to, list a few questions or imagine a few questions that they might be asking on that specific page. And if you can answer those questions for them, you're going to provide the information they're looking for, and that's going to tailor the content and how you set it up on the page. Also, someone might be coming to the club site to find out some contact information, so it's not a bad idea if you're, putting up a page about golf, maybe you have somebody from the golf pro shop that they can contact, or if it's about the fitness facility, on the fitness facility page, have someone specifically at the fitness facility page that they can contact. Now, on the member side of things, there's a good chance that someone's coming to your website or to a specific page to make an online booking, maybe review their statements, and we want to make sure that we're giving them clear clues and cues and links to those specific spots. And the other good question to ask is, who is that person? And this is specifically if you're trying to use the public-facing site to attract a potential member. So if you're putting up a page on membership, who is the member that is most likely to be visiting, or sorry, the potential member that is most likely to be visiting that page? What are some of the things that they'll be looking for in a club? So kind of create some we call it a persona of the people that will actually be consuming your content. So once you kind of have an idea of who these people are and maybe what it is that they're on your site for, you can start to refine your copy based on the following rules that I'm going to present. All right, so just going to quickly list them and then we'll go into them in more depth. First one is be short and sweet. Too often, I've gone to sites and I've seen a lot of text-heavy content that just appears like you're reading a book or you're forcing someone to read a book. Next, make it scantastic. That's kind of my word. Scan it, scannable. Just make it easy for the user to look down the page. Always be helping, in brackets with a CTA. I'll explain what that is for those who don't know. And 3 is a magic number. So with those 4 rules, I think you'll be able to take a look at your content and make it a little bit user-friendly and easier for people to get the information that they're looking for. All right, so be short and sweet. Now, I don't want you to think of short and sweet as, just taking away information. I want you to think of being short and sweet as presenting the information in short and consumable ways. So very often on websites that I've audited, I see a lot of content blocks that look like this. And the issue here is that for the amount of time someone is going to spend on a web page, they might see this and think, ugh, I don't want to read that. Now, if we took this content and reduced it into smaller chunks, we can still provide the same information, but we're going to do so in an easier way. So Chartbeat is a web analytics or a web stats company, and they say that readers probably only give each web page they're on about 15 seconds of their attention. So if you can imagine, you've got this one time, you're sending emails, long emails, text emails, or if someone's reading a book. In today's day and age, we're moving closer to text conversations, quick, short little back and forth between two people. And even more so, we're going towards, sending just emojis, and maybe not your demographics at clubs, but this is kind of the trend. People are more used to probably reading and consuming content in this area than they are in this area. And this is specific to online. So I want you to think future-proof, you're better to use less text. And the ways that we can do that are, thinking like a picture book for adults. I always use this in my website audits, which means, let your pictures of your club, really give a feeling, let them show the great atmosphere and the things that you have to offer, and use text as kind of a complement to that. It will make your website not only visually beautiful, but interesting, and will probably prompt the person to read the text once they've seen the photo. Another easy way to take a lot of text and reduce it into, shorter and sweeter bits is with bulleted lists or numbered lists. So here's our example, a lot of text here, and if I was to take this text, I could break it down into some bulleted lists. So within each section here, I've just taken out some of the main points that I believe are the most important from that huge paragraph. These are all included, and what we do is, boiling things down to those quick copy points is going to allow that person to, scan and see what it is that they're looking for. For those who don't know how, if you're ever in the web editor here and you need to know how to make these bulleted lists, it's just this button up here in the toolbar, Insert Remove Bulleted Lists. So if I wanted to add another one, you can just hit Enter. If I wanted to turn something up here, I can just highlight it and then just hit the bulleted list point. It's going to make the whole thing a list. Just let me break that down. I can remove this one. Similarly, you've got a numbered list over here. So I prefer bulleted lists, but if for some reason you wanted to have a numbered list, you can use this button right here. And the last point I wanted to make about, reducing your copy is to think of the actual language that you use and how long your sentences are. So I know that we're not probably 8th grade reading levels people, but we want to make the website quick and easy to read. So if you can, aim for your text to be an 8th grade reading level. I know there's going to be some words that you want to use that are beyond that, but this will just give you the, right frame of mind when you're writing the copy. And you can actually use an online tool. There's many out there. This is just one of them, readable.io. I can show you that here. And all you do is you come to this link and you can paste in any of the copy that you've written, measure it, and it's going to give you a grade score based on the text that you put in. Chances are you're going to be surprised, and the grade level is actually going to be higher than you imagine it to be, but it'll show you some of the words that you have in your text that might be a little bit more advanced. You don't necessarily need to take those out, but it's just interesting to see you know, what grade level your text is at. Okay, so next one, make it scantastic. This is because, again, people's low attention spans require them to look down a page of content, look for the things that they need to know without having to read through all of the text. And the easiest way to do that is to use headings and subheadings. So if we were to take our big block of text here that I showed you, and I pulled out, you know, what are the main points or the main sections of text that I talk about in here. And I broke it into 3 sections and gave each of those 3 sections a subheading. So specifically to golf, specifically to athletic facility that we have at the club, and specifically to the clubhouse. So I've also included a, you know, subheading here just to add some kind of like, you know, interest or marketing speak, just to instill a feeling to your potential member. If someone's coming to find out about membership at the club, you know, you just want to tell them a little bit in your own words why this club is great. And if you don't know how to add those subheadings, they live underneath the Styles Format tab here. So if you see, if I highlight this subheading I created, I've made it a heading 2. And my subheads below, including golf and athletic facilities, etc., these are heading 3s. The style of these, you'll notice how they are different color. Again, this is an effective way to make the page scannable. It breaks up the content. These are set when you do, when the website was designed. So all of your websites should have styling for heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Another suggestion that I have is if you are going to use a block of text, what you could do is pull out a really important line of that text and use a block quote. So this you know, can break up the long text block and, you know, insert something in here that's, you know, a great quote or a great fact about your club. So on our edited version here, I have it down at the bottom, and it, you know, just says something about our vision or what we believe at this fake Springfield Country Club that I've created. And this here is created again in the editor by clicking on the double quote button here, the block quote. So I can highlight some text and then make it a block quote by clicking on this. If you are deciding to redesign your site in the future and you want your block quote to have a specific look, this is something that you can speak with your designer about so that the block quote is a little bit different than the rest of the text. In my case here, I designed it so that it was orange in the background and makes it, you know, stand out compared to the rest. All right, so now looking at wanting to be helpful and giving your users something to do once they've got their information. So let's say we've done a great job of providing, you know, answers to the questions that someone's come to our website for. Well, what are they going to do next? So I like to suggest that you give them a call to action, meaning a suggestion or a little push to go visit something else on your site, or maybe to contact someone at the club. So, you know, they've consumed the content, and maybe there is a great page with a special offer for membership. Maybe on all of your web pages at the bottom, you could have a little call to action button that says, learn about our new membership offers, or potentially, contact someone at the club for more information. In some cases, it might even be beneficial to put a form right below the content so that if they want to contact someone at the club, you've made it very easy. They can fill out their name, maybe email address, and submit that to the membership director, for example. So in our example here, you'll notice that within each section, I've used a button. So this is just an overview of our golf club. We've got our 3 sections, but maybe someone's more specifically interested in golf. Rather than forcing them to go up to the navigation and finding out, where to go for the golf page, I'm just going to tell them or give them a little push to go visit the golf page right from here. Similarly with the other 2. Now, buttons can be added when you create a hyperlink. So if you create a hyperlink here, I've shown some of you probably already how to do this in a website audit, but underneath the Insert Edit Link button, you have the ability to create a button by going underneath the Advanced tab. So this sometimes might be closed, but if you open up this menu here, you have the ability under the Advanced tab to check off the button styling button, and this will create will transition your hyperlink from just a text link to a button link. That again can be styled by our graphics team here. So if you want to change the look of your button because it's not matching your website, or it's just defaulting to a simple gray color or something like that, then you can make that request through support. So here's 3 examples of button. Sometimes I see buttons being used that say learn more or read more. Now, that button is better than nothing, but I always encourage descriptive buttons that actually tell the user what they're going to do when they click on that button. So, if you're promoting a golf tournament and you want them to go over to the registration page, maybe it's inside the event calendar, make sure that you make that button say register for the tournament versus find out more. All right, and my last rule of the 4, I have to confess, I actually broke my own rule. So this rule is kind of more of just a suggestion. There's no hard proof for this, but there does seem to be something about using content that is listed in groups of 3. So if we look to other, things out in the content world, whether that's things from our past childhood or, easy to remember sayings, it's very, very easy for our brain, and it's actually kind of enjoyable to consume things in groups of 3. And here's just some examples, reduce, reuse, recycle, sugar and spice, and everything nice. There's a lot of these. Like I mentioned, childhood books. You could have the 3 Little Pigs, or Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. There's just a nice kind of balance to a group of 3. So if you're using a a list, try to boil that list down, those bullets, to 3 points. If you go beyond 3, chances are you might lose the person. They've read the first 2, 3, and then you go to 4 and 6 and 8. They might not read the rest. If you're setting up your page, I like to take it kind of back to our high school days where we had intro, body, conclusion. But if you take that to a website context, it becomes headline, content, call to action. So again, looking at our example, I put a bit of an intro or a headline up here, and then I went into our content area, and even within the content area, I created just an intro, a bit of content grouped into 3, and then a call to action. This one I kind of made 2 groups of 3. I could have listed all of these 6 in one, but that makes it a little bit more overwhelming or tiresome to read, I find. So you're better to actually split it up and have 2 groups of 3 here. And lastly, I kind of cheated. I made my club with only 3 grill houses just to make it look good. I know in your case you might only have 2, and that's fine. But again, I took this content here, took out the 3 main areas of the club that I wanted to promote, and used 3 within each of those content, the rule of 3 within each of those content. All right, so the page that I've shown you here that is basically the content from here converted to here, it's, in my opinion, it's a great improvement. I think there's a lot of club pages that I've looked at in the past that look like this that would be vastly improved if they just moved towards something like this. However, I did mention at the start that I, like to think of the web as, picture book for adults, or you should try to make your club websites picture book for adults. So I created an even, nicer looking page with this content here. So again, this is the same content with a few little tweaks. So just by adding some images, and I actually put a bigger subtitle here specific to this section so that it was very clear, good for SEO to actually use the, potential search terms that people are going to be looking for. So if someone was looking for country club in Springfield, or Springfield golf course, or Springfield athletic facility, having these breaking up your sections is going to help the search engines find the page when someone's searching for it. Again, this page ends with a little form, so if somebody wants to contact me or contact the club about membership information, they can quickly submit it. They don't have to open up their email. They don't have to go over to another page on the site. You've just given it to them right here. Now, the other great thing about this type of content, whether it's this page or the enhanced one, is that when you break things up and you simplify it, it really gives a enhanced experience on a small device. So if someone was coming to your website from a mobile device and your site is responsive, by reducing the amount of copy and making it into chunks, scannable, easy to read bulleted lists, they can thumb through this on their phone, and it's really easy to consume. Similarly, this version, even though it's visual, it's going to display really nicely on a phone as well. Whereas our first version, if we were to view this on a phone, it's just text and makes it a lot harder to pull out that information that they might be quickly looking for. Okay, so just to recap, I've changed the title, 3 rules for refining website copy, so that I'm not breaking my own rule of 3. Be short and sweet, make it scantastic, and always be helping with a call to action or a form right on the page, just so that your user is not coming to the site, reading, and then leaving. Give them a little push or encouragement to go visit something else that you have to offer on the site. And then as a bonus, 3 is a magic number, so the rule of 3. You don't always have to use this, but it can be an effective strategy to start with and go from there. So now, if anyone has any questions, I'm going to take a look at the content box, or the chat box. So while you're submitting those, I just wanted to go over some of the resources that you have available to you. If you're interested in doing a free website audit, someone can go and take a look at the content that you actually have on your site right now, and they'd be able to make some suggestions on how you could refine that web copy you can visit either jonasclub.com/website audit or clubsys.com/web-audit. These links will be in the presentation when I send it to you after. You can just click on those and they will outline, kind of the different things that you can address in the audit. You might want to take a look at content or design. There's a whole bunch of different things that can be addressed once you speak with one of our web auditors. If you took a look at this page here and you're like, Trevor, that looks so good. I'd love to have our site have content like this. How do I do it? I don't know how. Well, there are so the code that is used to build this page is a bit customized, and what I would suggest is if you can do it yourself, that's great. If not, you can work with our ClubCon team and they would be able to do it, and that might just be a page or two. Maybe it's your membership page. You want to make it look really great, or maybe you're trying to increase the weddings and banquets that are taking place at your club. Maybe those are some key pages to really put a special touch on and make them look really great like this. Our ClubCom team can work with you and give you a quote based on how much work that'll take for them to take your content and beautify it or make it really appealing to a potential member or wedding. And of course, if you're trying to build out some of this content and you are getting frustrated or stuck on maybe something in the web editor and you're not sure why it's not working like you want it to, please contact our support team. They are there for your help. They're going to show you how to do something, and hopefully that'll allow you to go and do it the next time quicker and easier on your own. All right, I'm just going to take a look now at the chat for the questions. All right, let me just see here. All right, the first question I have is, how can we check if our site is responsive? And if it's not, how do we change it to be responsive? So a responsive site is a site that's going to change in appearance depending on which device it's on. So if you're not sure about that, one of the easier ways to do it is to open your website, and you can click on the shrink or minimize your browser window here. And what you're going to see happen is the size of the site is going to shrink with the window. So you'll notice here that things are getting narrower, and then at some point it's actually going to change in appearance. So the window size determines what the website looks like. Another way to do it is to visit it on your phone. You can open up your website on your phone. If you have our mobile module, then chances are it's going to display kind of a simplified version of your website with a list of links. And if it's responsive, it will show a really optimized version of the site on your mobile device. If it's not responsive at this time and it's something that you'd like to do, you can submit that request through support, and it will require a redesign, meaning that the site will have to be recoded, and you'll also get the opportunity to change the look of it, maybe make it more modern, change up the fonts, change up the colors so that it looks better. Maybe you've gone through a rebranding over the last year or so and you wanted to reflect that online. So it's a great chance to not only make the site optimized for all devices, but also make it look current and fresh. All right, I'm just going to take another look here. I see that Yvonne has asked a question. So the question coming is, how do you recommend formatting pages with large paragraphs of text, such as club history, which include a story or article? All right, so club history pages. This is something I see a lot. Club history, in my opinion, is valuable. It's something that people might want to read after they've gone through your site and looked at some other of the more current information. But if I was to make any suggestion first about club history, is that don't put it first and foremost. If you're putting it on your homepage and you're giving a lot of text about the club history, you're probably just going to lose your reader. It's maybe more of a page that's in your About section. And what I would do to make it, more interesting or visually appealing is I would use large pictures that break up the text. So for example, if this was my history page, I might come in here and put a very large image between this paragraph and this paragraph. And then I would also use a block quote potentially after this paragraph that calls out something special about the history of the club. Or there's another page that you can use within the editor. I'm just going to show you here. So I'm just going to create a new page. And it's called the Expandable Content with Categories page type. Now underneath this, I'm just going to show you an example of what that would look like. So if I was to create a history page using this page type, what you'll see here is you can create headings, and then with each of those headings, you can create little content blocks that expand. So for example, I might choose the first heading to be the founding or the earliest days of the club, or the club from 1919 to 1940. And then in this section, I might do the club from 1940 to 1975, and then down here 1975 to present. And then within each section, I might have a subsection about, the original clubhouse or original course design. That way, you might have a user who comes to the site and they just want to know about the original club or the original course. They can quickly just open up that spot and read the bit about that. All right, I have another question here. Can you recommend a site for free stock photos? There are some great options out there. If let me just pull one up here for you. I'm just going to go to my bookmarks because there's a lot that I have listed. I would start maybe by going to a site, and I'm just going to type it into the chat here. Just let me check one more thing. So I would go to allthefreestock.com. You can see this in the chat box. And this site is really cool because it actually aggregates free stock photography from a lot of free stock sites. Now, I just want to give a warning and disclaimer that I am not affiliated with this site, and I cannot vouch for the license agreement that each photo from this site allows, meaning that if you use a site or you use this site to find free stock photos, be sure to just check the license agreement so that you're not using a photo that is potentially you know, stolen, or it belongs to someone that doesn't want you to use it for commercial use or whatnot. And usually free stock photography sites will have some information for the license agreement on that. All right, one more question here. Does JONAS offer a Member Central webinar with examples of different formats and content to include? There isn't a specific webinar yet for that, but that is a good suggestion. What I would, if you're kind of thinking about how you want to set up your Member Central page, I would probably consider maybe doing a website audit and include that as something that you'd really like to focus on. The Member Central page is usually, in my opinion, a great spot for putting a list of news feeds. So in the news feeds webinar, I showed an example of including a really great news feed in the Member Central page. And you also probably want to include some links to important member-specific pages, such as, you know, the event calendar, online lessons, online events, booking, maybe it's the online statements page. Chances are these are all in your menu or your navigation, but it doesn't hurt to just put some of those button links on the Member Central page as well. I can show a fake Member Central page. Let me just check something here. Someone's asked for an example. Just bear with me. Okay, so this would be a good starting point. Again, this is really going to depend on your club's needs, what your club is trying to promote through Member Central, but this is the first page that your members are going to come to when they log into the website. So having the latest news on this site or on this web page, I think is a really good way to communicate what's going on at the club. So you'll see here that I've created a list of news items, included a photo, and then if you have a longer form article, they can click on this Read More link and go over to the full details. I've also got some buttons here to, you know, maybe some really popular member-specific pages on the site. Usually if a club has tea times, online tea time booking, then that is the most visited web page on the site. So it doesn't hurt to just have a button there so they can quickly navigate over to it. I also have a link to online statements. Maybe your club is trying to transition away from paper, or you might want to you know, start the new year by making sure that everyone knows that they can access their statement online. Then you might want to put that front and center on the Member Central page. Again, using a headline, so those headings are really important, and then using the call to action button. If maybe you're trying to promote more people booking a registration through the event calendar, then maybe you would change this up to, you know, register for events online, and then it would say here, you know, view the online calendar. So again, it depends on what you need or what your club wants to promote, and you can always change this page up. It doesn't need to stay static, but I believe that this is a good starting point. All right, I'm just going to go go over the questions here. Okay, I think I've got every question answered. So if you think of something between now and the time I send out this presentation to you all, you can always email me back, and I'll be happy to answer your question through email, or you can save it for a website audit that you're thinking about doing. And you know, the website audit is a free service, and it's been somewhat beneficial, in my opinion, to a lot of the clubs I worked with. So I hope you can take advantage of that. I hope today's webinar was, you know, somewhat helpful. It's a good starting point to edit your web copy and hopefully start your season either, you know, down in the south soon or in the spring up here in the north. But thanks everyone for attending today, and I hope you have a great remainder of 2017.